You're lying in bed right now. You can feel the weight of the blanket against your body. You can feel the pillow beneath your head. Your breathing is steady and slow, in and out, in and out. The room around you is quiet, or perhaps it holds the gentle sounds of night, a distant hum, a soft creak, the world settling into darkness. Tonight, I want to tell you a story. It is a story about bells, old bells, bells that hang in a tower in a place you have never been, bells that ring themselves at night, bells that no one touches, bells that should be silent but not. This is not a story that will frighten you. This is a story that will wrap around you like a blanket. This is a story that will carry you into sleep. This is a story about mystery, yes, but a mystery that is soft and distant and almost beautiful in its strangeness. So let your eyes grow heavy, let your body sink deeper into the bed, let yourself drift toward the edge of sleep. And as you drift, let me tell you about the bells. The town is small. You do not know its name. Perhaps it does not have a name that matters anymore. It sits in a valley between two hills. The hills are covered in trees. The trees are old and tall, and their branches reach toward each other across the narrow roads. In the summer, the leaves form a canopy of green. In the winter, the branches are bare and black against the grey sky. The town has one main street. On this street, there are shops with faded signs, a bakery, a post office, a store that sells tools and seeds and things for the garden. There is a library with tall windows and wooden floors that creak when you walk across them. There is a diner with red vinyl seats and a counter where people sit in the mornings drinking coffee. At the centre of the town there is a square. In the centre of the square there is a church. The church is made of stone. The stone is dark grey, almost black in certain light. The church is old. No one remembers exactly how old. Some say 200 years, some say older than that. The records were lost in a fire long ago, or perhaps they were never kept at all. The church has a tower. The tower rises above the rooftops of the town. It is tall and narrow. At the top of the tower there is a bell chamber. In the bell chamber there are 3 bells. The bells are made of bronze. They are large and heavy. Each bell has a name cast into its surface, but the names are in a language that no one in the town speaks anymore. The letters are worn smooth by time and weather. If you were to climb the tower and run your fingers over the surface of the bells, you would feel the faint outlines of words you cannot read. The bells used to ring. They rang on Sunday mornings to call people to worship. They rang on holidays. They rang when someone in the town was married. They rang when someone died. The sound of the bells could be heard throughout the valley. The sound was deep and resonant. It travelled over the hills and through the trees. It echoed. But that was a long time ago. The bells have not been rung in decades. The ropes that once hung down into the church have been cut away. The mechanisms that allowed the bells to swing have rusted and seized. The bells are silent now, or they should be. You find yourself walking through the town. It is evening. The sun has set behind the hills. The sky is a deep blue that is almost purple. The streetlights have come on. They cast pools of yellow light on the sidewalk. Your footsteps are soft against the pavement. You are alone. The shops are closed. The windows are dark. You walk toward the square. You do not know why. Perhaps you're simply walking. Perhaps you're looking for something. Perhaps you're just passing through. As you approach the church, you stop. You stand at the edge of the square and look up at the tower. The tower is a dark silhouette against the sky. You cannot see the bells from where you stand, but you know they are there. Everyone knows they are there. You listen. The night is quiet. There is a slight breeze. It moves through the trees with a sound like breathing. Soft, steady, in and out, and then you hear it. A sound. A single tone, low and clear and impossibly pure. It hangs in the air for a moment and then fades. You wait. You hold your breath. The sound comes again. A bell. One of the bells in the tower is ringing. But there is no one in the tower. The door at the base of the tower is locked. It has been locked for years. The key was lost or thrown away or buried with the last person who ever climbed those stairs. No one goes into the tower anymore. No one rings the bells, and yet the bell rings. You stand there in the square listening. The bell rings a third time, then a fourth. The intervals between the rings are irregular. Sometimes 5 seconds, sometimes 10, sometimes 20. There is no pattern, no rhythm, just the sound of the bell, appearing out of the silence, hanging in the air, and then fading away. You feel a chill, but it is not the chill of fear. It is the chill of the evening air. The temperature has dropped. You pull your jacket tighter around yourself. You continue to listen. The ringing stops. The night is quiet again. You wait for several minutes, but the sound does not return. You turn and walk away from the square. You walk back the way you came. Your footsteps echo softly in the empty street. As you walk, you think about the bells. You wonder how it is possible. You wonder if you imagined it. But you know you did not imagine it. The sound was real. It was clear and distinct. It was unmistakable. You reach the edge of town. You look back over your shoulder. The tower rises above the rooftops, a dark shape against the stars. You cannot see the bells, but you know they are there. Silent now, waiting. The legend of the bells has been told in the town for as long as anyone can remember. The story is passed down from generation to generation. Grandparents tell it to their grandchildren. Neighbours whisper about it over fences. Strangers who visit the town hear the story in the diner or the library or the post office. The legend says that the bells ring themselves. They ring at night. They ring when there is no wind. They ring when there is no storm. They ring when no one is near. The ringing is irregular. It does not follow any schedule. Sometimes the bells ring every night for a week. Sometimes they are silent for months. There is no way to predict when the ringing will occur. The legend says that the bells are cursed, or perhaps they are blessed. The words used to describe them change depending on who is telling the story. Some say the bells are trying to send a message. Some say they are mourning something lost. Some say they are calling to someone who will never come. There are many theories about why the bells ring. Each theory is more elaborate than the last. Each theory is told with conviction, as if the teller knows something that no one else knows. One theory says that the bells ring because of the wind. The wind moves through the tower in a particular way, and the movement of the air causes the bells to vibrate. But this theory does not explain why the bells ring on perfectly still nights when there is no wind at all. Another theory says that the bells ring because of temperature changes. The metal expands and contracts as the air grows warmer or cooler, and this expansion and contraction causes the bells to produce sound. But this theory does not explain why the ringing is so clear and pure, why it sounds exactly like someone striking the bell with intention. Another theory says that the bells ring because of animals. Birds nest in the tower, bats roost in the rafters, perhaps a bird lands on the edge of a bell, perhaps a bat brushes against the surface, perhaps the movement is enough to produce a sound. But this theory does not explain why the ringing sounds so deliberate, so measured, so human. Another theory says that the bells ring because of structural shifts in the tower itself. The tower is old, the stone settles, the wood creaks. Perhaps the movement of the building causes the bells to sway ever so slightly, just enough to produce a tone. But this theory does not explain why the ringing happens at irregular intervals, why it sometimes stops for months at a time. And then there are the theories that venture into the realm of the impossible, the theories that speak of ghosts and spirits and things that cannot be explained by science or reason. One such theory says that the bells ring because of the bell ringer. There was a bell ringer long ago who tended the bells every day. He climbed the stairs to the tower every morning and every evening. He polished the bronze until it gleamed. He oiled the mechanisms. He tested the ropes. He rang the bells with care and precision. And when he died, his spirit remained in the tower. His spirit continues to ring the bells, even though his body is long gone, even though the ropes have been cut, even though no living person climbs those stairs anymore. Another theory says that the bells ring because of a promise. Someone made a promise long ago that the bells would always ring. Someone swore an oath. Someone bound themselves to the bells in a way that transcended death. And so the bells continue to ring, fulfilling the promise, honouring the oath, even though the person who made it is gone. Another theory says that the bells ring because of a curse. Someone wronged someone else in this town long ago, a betrayal, a murder, a theft, and as punishment the bells were cursed to ring forever, a reminder of the sin, a sound that would never let the town forget. But these are just stories, theories, guesses. No one knows the truth. No one has ever climbed the tower at night to see what causes the ringing. No one has ever stayed in the bell chamber to witness the moment when the sound begins. You lie in bed, thinking about the bells. You think about the sound. You think about the way it hung in the air, pure and clear and strangely beautiful. You think about the tower, dark and silent, holding its secrets. Your breathing is slow. Your body is relaxed. The bed feels soft beneath you. The pillow cradles your head. You close your eyes. In your mind, you see the tower. You see the stone walls. You see the narrow windows. You see the stairs that spiral upward into darkness. You imagine yourself climbing those stairs, one step at a time, slow and steady. The stairs are worn smooth by centuries of footsteps. The air is cool and smells of dust and old wood. You climb higher. The light from below grows fainter. The darkness presses in around you. You reach out and touch the wall. The stone is cold and rough beneath your fingers. You continue climbing. At last, you reach the top. You step into the bell chamber. The chamber is small and round. The walls are stone. The ceiling is high and peaked. In the center of the chamber, hanging from thick wooden beams, are the 3 bells. The bells are massive. They are larger than you imagined. They are dark and heavy and ancient. You step closer. You can see the names cast into the bronze, the letters worn and faint. You reach out and touch the surface of the nearest bell. The metal is cold. It feels solid and permanent, as if it has always been here and will always be here. You wait. You listen. The chamber is silent. The night outside is silent. You hear nothing but your own breathing. And then, without warning, the bell rings. The sound is enormous. It fills the chamber. It vibrates in your chest. It resonates in your bones. The sound is so loud that you step back, startled. But you're not afraid. You're only surprised. The sound is beautiful. It is overwhelming and beautiful. The bell rings again and again. You stand there in the chamber, surrounded by the sound, and you feel something you cannot name. A sense of awe, a sense of presence, a sense that you are witnessing something beyond your understanding. The ringing stops. The sound fades. The silence returns. You stand there in the darkness, waiting. But the bell does not ring again. You open your eyes. You're in your bed. The room around you is quiet. The vision of the tower fades. You are here, now, safe and warm. But the sound of the bell remains in your memory. It echoes in your mind. It is a sound you will carry with you, even as you drift towards sleep. The people of the town have learned to live with the bells. They have learned to accept the ringing as a part of life, like the changing of the seasons or the rising of the sun. When the bells ring at night, people pause in their homes, they look up from their books or their televisions or their conversations, they listen, and then they return to what they were doing. Some people find the ringing comforting. They say it is a reminder that the town has a history. They say it is a connection to the past. They say it is something unique, something that sets their town apart from every other town in the world. Other people find the ringing unsettling. They say it is strange and unexplained. They say it disrupts their sleep. They say it is a reminder that there are things in the world that cannot be understood or controlled. Children in the town grow up hearing the bells. They hear the stories. They hear the theories. They ask their parents why the bells ring. Their parents shrug and say they do not know. They say it is just the way things are. They say it has always been this way. Some children are afraid of the bells. They imagine ghosts and monsters in the tower. They have nightmares about climbing the stairs and finding something terrible waiting at the top. Their parents comfort them. They say there is nothing to be afraid of. They say the bells are just bells. They say the ringing is just a sound. Other children are fascinated by the bells. They stand in the square at night, hoping to hear the ringing. They dare each other to touch the door at the base of the tower. They invent games and stories about the bells. They pretend to be bell ringers from long ago. As the children grow older, the bells become a part of the background of their lives. They stop thinking about them. They stop wondering why they ring. The sound becomes familiar, almost mundane. It is just another feature of the town, like the old stone church or the trees on the hills. But sometimes, late at night, when the bells ring, even the adults who have lived in the town their entire lives will stop and listen. They will stand at their windows looking out at the dark tower, and they will feel a flicker of the old wonder, the old mystery. They will feel a connection to something larger than themselves, something they cannot name. You're walking through the town again. It is a different night. The air is cooler, There is a mist hanging over the square. The mist is thin and pale. It moves slowly, drifting between the buildings like a living thing. You walk toward the church. Your footsteps are muffled by the mist. You cannot see more than a few feet in front of you. The streetlights are dim halos of yellow light. The world feels smaller, enclosed, as if the mist has drawn a curtain around you. You reach the square. The church looms out of the mist, a dark shape against the darkness. The tower rises above, disappearing into the fog. You cannot see the top, you cannot see the bells. You stand there, waiting. You don't know what you are waiting for. Perhaps you're waiting for the ringing. Perhaps you're waiting for something else, something you cannot name. The mist swirls around you. It is cold and damp. You can feel it on your face, on your hands. It clings to your clothes. You pull your jacket tighter. And then the ringing begins, one bell, a single clear tone. It cuts through the mist and the darkness. It seems to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. It hangs in the air, pure and perfect. You listen. The bell rings again. The sound is softer this time, or perhaps it is your imagination. Perhaps the mist is absorbing the sound, muffling it, changing it. The bell rings a third time, and then silence. The mist continues to swirl. The night is still. You wait, but the ringing does not resume. You turn and walk away from the square. The mist parts before you and closes behind you. You walk through the empty streets, guided by the faint glow of the streetlights. You feel as if you are walking through a dream. When you reach the edge of town, you look back. The mist has grown thicker. You can no longer see the church. You can no longer see the tower. The town has disappeared into the fog as if it never existed at all. You continue walking. You do not know where you are going. You do not need to know. You're simply moving forward, one step at a time, into the quiet night. There are records in the library, old records, dusty books and folders filled with yellowed papers. The records are kept in a room at the back of the library, a room with no windows and shelves that reach from floor to ceiling. The room smells of old paper and ink and time. If you were to go into this room and search through the records, you would find references to the bells. Not many references, but a few. Brief mentions in old town ledgers, notes in the margins of church documents, a few faded photographs. One record is a letter, written in 1893 by the pastor of the church. The letter is addressed to the bishop of the diocese. In the letter, the pastor describes a problem. He says that the bells have begun to ring at odd hours. He says that the ringing is disturbing the congregation. He says that he has inspected the tower and found no explanation for the ringing. He asks the bishop for advice. There's no record of the bishop's response. Another record is a newspaper article from 1927. The article is brief, just a few paragraphs. It describes the bells as a local curiosity. It mentions that the bells ring themselves at night. It quotes several townspeople who offer their theories about the cause of the ringing. The article treats the phenomenon as a charming oddity, nothing more. Another record is a photograph from 1952. The photograph shows the church and the tower. In the foreground, a group of people are standing in the square. They are looking up at the tower. Their faces are blurred, but their postures suggest curiosity, perhaps concern. There is no caption on the photograph, no explanation of why it was taken or what the people were looking at. These records do not solve the mystery. They only confirm that the mystery has existed for a long time. The bells have been ringing themselves for more than a century, perhaps longer. No one has ever found a definitive explanation. You lie in bed, your eyes closed. You think about the records. You think about the letter from the pastor, the newspaper article, the photograph. You think about all the people who have stood in the square listening to the bells, wondering. You think about time, the way it moves forward, relentless and steady, the way it erodes everything. Stone and metal and memory, the way it turns the present into the past into legend, legend into myth. The bells have been ringing for more than a century. How many people have heard them? How many people have stood in the square looking up at the tower trying to understand? How many people have lain in bed at night listening to the distant sound, wondering what it means? You breathe in, you breathe out. Your body is heavy and relaxed, the bed holds you gently, the pillow supports your head, you feel safe, you feel calm. In your mind, you return to the tower. You see the 3 bells hanging in the darkness. You see the bronze surfaces, worn and ancient. You see the names cast into the metal, the letters you cannot read. You imagine the bells ringing. You imagine the sound travelling out from the tower, moving through the night air, spreading over the town and the hills and the valley. You imagine the sound reaching the ears of people lying in their beds just like you. You imagine them pausing, listening, wondering. The sound is a thread that connects them all, a thread that stretches across time, a thread that ties the past to the present, the living to the dead, the known to the unknown. You drift. Your thoughts become slower, softer. The images in your mind begin to blur and fade. The tower, the bells, the sound. All of it is slipping away, dissolving into the darkness behind your eyelids. You're falling asleep. You can feel it happening. The pull of sleep is gentle and irresistible. You do not resist. You let yourself fall. There is a man who lives in the town. He has lived there his entire life. He is old now, in his 80s. His hair is white. His hands shake slightly when he holds a cup of coffee. He walks with a cane. The man remembers when the bells were rung by hand. He was a child then, no more than 5 or 6 years old. He remembers standing in the square with his mother, watching the bell ringer climb the stairs to the tower. The bell ringer was a tall man with broad shoulders and a serious expression. He wore a dark suit and a hat. He carried the key to the tower on a ring attached to his belt. The man remembers the sound of the bells when they were rung properly, with intention and rhythm. The sound was glorious. It filled the valley. It made the air vibrate. It made him feel small and large at the same time, insignificant and part of something vast. He remembers the day the bell ringer died. It was winter. The bell ringer had climbed the stairs to ring the bells for Sunday service. He had rung the bells as he always did, with precision and care, and then, as he descended the stairs, he collapsed. A heart attack, the doctor said later. He was dead before anyone could reach him. After that, no one rang the bells. There was talk of finding a new bell ringer, but it never happened. The ropes were cut. The mechanisms were allowed to rust. The bells fell silent. And then, a few months later, the bells began to ring themselves. At first, people thought someone had climbed the tower without permission, but the door was locked. No one had the key. The bell ringer had been buried with it, according to legend, though no one could confirm this. The man has heard the bells ring themselves countless times over the decades. He has stopped wondering why they ring. He has accepted it as a fact of life, like the turning of the earth or the changing of the seasons. But sometimes, when he hears the bells at night, he thinks of the bell ringer. He thinks of the tall man with the serious expression. He thinks of the way the bell ringer moved through the town with quiet dignity, performing his duty without complaint. He wonders if the bell ringer is still there, in some way. If some part of him remained in the tower when his body was carried down the stairs. If the bell ringer continues to ring the bells, fulfilling his duty even in death. The man does not believe in ghosts. He does not believe in curses or spirits or any of the other explanations people offer for the ringing, but he believes in memory. He believes in the way a place can hold an echo of the people who have passed through it. He believes in the persistence of the past. You're walking through the town in the daytime now. The sun is shining. The sky is blue. The trees on the hills are green and full. Birds are singing. People are out on the streets going about their business. The shops are open. The diner is full. You walk through the square. In the daylight, the church looks different. The stone is lighter, almost grey instead of black. The tower is tall but not ominous. It is just a building, old and weathered but solid and real. You stand in the square and look up at the tower. You can see the bell chamber now, the open arches that allow the sound to escape. You cannot see the bells themselves, but you know they are there. You walk to the base of the tower. There is a door made of heavy wood with iron hinges and a large iron lock. You reach out and touch the door. The wood is rough and warm from the sun. You try the handle, but the door does not open. It is locked, as it has been for decades. You step back and look up at the tower again. You imagine climbing the stairs. You imagine reaching the bell chamber. You imagine standing among the bells, touching them, feeling the cold bronze beneath your fingers. But you cannot climb the stairs. The door is locked, and perhaps that is for the best. Perhaps some mysteries are meant to remain mysteries. Perhaps some doors are meant to stay closed. You turn and walk away from the church. You walk through the square and down the main street. You pass the bakery and the post office and the library. You pass people on the sidewalk. They nod to you. You nod back. No one speaks. At the edge of town, you stop and look back. The The tower rises above the rooftops, a familiar landmark, a constant presence. You have seen it at night and in the mist, and now in the bright light of day. It is always there, always watching, always silent, except when it is not. You continue walking, you leave the town behind, you walk along a road that winds between the hills. The trees arch overhead, creating a tunnel of green. The air is cool and fresh. You can hear the sound of a stream somewhere nearby, the water moving over rocks, a gentle, continuous murmur. You walk for a long time. You do not think about the bells. You do not think about the mystery. You simply walk, feeling the sun on your face, the breeze in your hair, the solid ground beneath your feet, and then faintly, carried on the wind, you hear it. The sound of a bell. One clear, pure tone. It reaches you from far away from the town you left behind. It hangs in the air for a moment, and then it is gone. You stop walking. You stand in the middle of the road listening, but the sound does not come again. There is only the wind and the trees and the distant murmur of the stream. You smile. It is a small smile, barely noticeable. And then you continue walking, deeper into the hills, away from the town, away from the tower, away from the bells. There are other towns, towns scattered across the country, across the world, towns with their own legends, their own mysteries, their own sounds in the night. In one town there is a lighthouse that turns on by itself. The lighthouse has been abandoned for 50 years, but on foggy nights the light still shines, sweeping across the water, guiding ships that are no longer there. In another town there is a clock tower that chimes at midnight, every night, even though the mechanism is broken and the hands are frozen in place. In another town there is a fountain in the town square that runs with clear water, even though the pipes have been disconnected and the reservoir is empty. These are the legends, the stories people tell, the mysteries that persist, generation after generation, defying explanation, refusing to be solved. Perhaps every place has its own legend, its own sound or sight or presence that cannot be explained, its own connection to something beyond the ordinary world. Perhaps the world is full of these small mysteries, these quiet impossibilities, these gentle hauntings. You lie in bed. Your body is relaxed. Your breathing is slow and even. Your mind is drifting, floating on the edge of sleep. You think about the bells. You think about the sound. You think about all the people who have heard that sound over the years, all the people who have wondered, all the people who have tried to understand. You think about the tower standing in the square, solid and silent. You think about the 3 bells hanging in the darkness, waiting. Waiting for what? You do not know. Perhaps they are not waiting for anything. Perhaps they simply exist, as they have always existed, ringing when some unknown condition is met, silent when it is not. Perhaps there is no answer. Perhaps there is no explanation. Perhaps the mystery is the point. You breathe in, you breathe out. The bed is soft, the pillow is cool, the room is dark and quiet. In your mind, the tower is fading, the bells are fading, the sound is fading. Everything is fading into the gentle darkness of sleep. But the sound remains. Somewhere in your memory, in the back of your mind, the sound of the bells remains. Clear and pure and strangely beautiful. A sound that is neither frightening nor comforting, but simply there. A presence, a reminder that the world is larger and stranger and more mysterious than you can ever fully understand. A reminder that there are things that defy explanation. A reminder that sometimes the only response to mystery is to listen, to accept, to let it be. The bells ring in the night. They have always rung. They will always ring. And you, lying in your bed, drifting towards sleep, are part of the long chain of listeners. You are connected to everyone who has ever heard that sound. You're part of the story. You drift deeper. Your thoughts become fragments, disconnected images and sensations. The tower, the bells, the sound, the mist, the square, the old man with the white hair, the bell ringer climbing the stairs. All of it is dissolving, breaking apart, scattering into the darkness. You're almost asleep now. You can feel it. The pull is strong. You do not resist. You surrender to it. You let yourself fall. And as you fall, you hear it one last time. Faint and distant, like a memory of a memory. The sound of a bell, ringing in the darkness, ringing in the night, One clear, pure tone, and then silence. You sleep. The town continues. Life continues. The sun rises and sets. The seasons change. People are born and grow old and die. The shops open and close. The streets fill and empty. The trees on the hills turn green in the spring and gold in the autumn and bare in the winter. And through it all the tower stands. The bells hang. And sometimes, when the conditions are right, when some unknowable threshold is crossed, the bells ring. No one will ever know why. No one will ever climb the stairs and solve the mystery. The door will remain locked. The secret will remain hidden. And perhaps that is as it should be. Perhaps the world needs its mysteries. Perhaps we need things that cannot be explained, things that remind us that we do not know everything, that we cannot control everything, that there are forces and presences and patterns beyond our understanding. The bells ring, they have always rung, they will always ring. And you, lying in your bed, safe and warm, drifting in and out of sleep, are part of the story. You are one of the listeners. You are one of the witnesses. The sound echoes in your mind. It will echo there for the rest of your life. Whenever you think of this night, of this story, you will hear it. One clear, pure tone hanging in the darkness. A sound that is both beautiful and unsettling, both familiar and strange. A sound that is the sound of mystery itself. You breathe, you drift, you sleep, and somewhere, in a town you have never been, in a tower you have never climbed, the bells wait. Silent now, but not forever. They will ring again. They always do. When the moment comes, when the conditions are met, when the world tilts in just the right way, they will ring, and someone somewhere will hear them. Someone will stand in the square looking up at the tower listening. Someone will lie in bed, wondering. Someone will tell the story to someone else and the legend will continue. The bells are eternal. The mystery is eternal. The story is eternal. And you are part of it now, forever. Sleep well. Let the sound of the bells carry you into dreams. Let the mystery wrap around you like a blanket. Let the darkness hold you gently. The bells ring in the night, and you are listening, and you are sleeping, and you are safe. Always held, always part of the story of the bells that ring themselves, the story that has no ending, the story that continues, even now, even as you sleep, even as the world turns and the night deepens and the tower stands and the bells wait. The story continues, always. In the morning you wake. The sun is streaming through the window. The room is bright and warm. You lie there for a moment, blinking against the light, letting yourself return slowly to wakefulness. You remember the story. You remember the bells. The sound is still there, faint but present, echoing in your memory. You get out of bed. You go about your day. You do the things you always do. You eat breakfast. You drink coffee. You shower and dress. You move through your routine, automatic and familiar. But throughout the day, you find your thoughts returning to the bells. You find yourself wondering about the tower, about the town, about the sound. You wonder if the town is real. You wonder if the bells are real. You wonder if anyone, anywhere, has ever truly solved the mystery. You do not search for answers. You do not look for the town on a map. You do not try to verify the details of the story. You let it remain a mystery. You let it remain a story. Because that is what it is. A story, a legend, a tale told to help you sleep. And it worked, did it not? You slept. You dreamed. You woke rested and calm. The story did what it was meant to do. It carried you through the night. It guided you into sleep. It held you gently until morning. And now, as you move through your day, the story stays with you. A quiet presence, a soft echo, a reminder that the world is full of mysteries, that there are things we cannot explain, that sometimes the best response to the unknown is not to solve it, but to listen to it, to accept it, to let it be. The bells ring in the night, somewhere, in some town, in some tower. The bells ring and people listen and the story continues, and you are part of that story now. You are one of the listeners, one of the witnesses, one of the dreamers. The bells ring, and you hear them. Even now, even in the bright light of day, you hear them, faint and distant, but there, always there. A sound that is both real and imagined, both memory and dream, both past and present, the sound of mystery, the sound of the unknown, the sound of the bells, and you carry that sound with you, today and tomorrow and all the days to come, a small piece of the story, a small piece of the legend, the bells ring, and you listen, and the world continues, and that is enough. You go about your day, you work, you talk to people, you eat lunch, you walk outside and feel the sun on your face, you do all the ordinary things that fill a life. But in the back of your mind, the bells are there, waiting, silent for now but not forgotten, and tonight, when you lie down in bed, when you close your eyes and begin to drift towards sleep, you will think of the bells again. You will think of the tower, you will think of the sound, and perhaps, in that moment between waking and sleeping, you will hear it. One clear, pure tone, hanging in the darkness, beautiful and strange and impossible, or perhaps you will not. Perhaps the bells will be silent. Perhaps the mystery will remain distant, untouchable, a story you heard once but cannot quite recall. It does not matter. The bells will ring again, they always do. And when they ring, someone will hear, someone will listen, someone will wonder. The story continues, the legend continues, the mystery continues, and you are part of it, now and forever. The bells ring in the night, and you are listening, even when you do not know you are listening, even when you are asleep. Even when you are awake and far away, moving through your life, the bells are there. A presence, a sound, a mystery. The bells ring. And the story continues. Always. You finish your day, the sun sets, the sky darkens, the stars come out. You return home, you eat dinner, you sit in your chair and read or watch television or simply sit, thinking, remembering. And then it is time for bed. You brush your teeth, you turn off the lights, you climb under the covers, you rest your head on the pillow. The room is dark and quiet. The world is still. You close your eyes, and as you drift towards sleep, you think of the bells, you think of the tower, you think of the town you have never seen. You imagine yourself walking through the square. You imagine yourself standing beneath the tower looking up. You imagine the sound clear and pure, cutting through the night, and you smile, because the story is there, waiting for you. The mystery is there. The bells are there. They will ring again, tonight, or tomorrow, or someday soon. And when they ring, you will hear them, in your memory, in your dreams, in the quiet spaces of your mind. The bells will ring, and you will listen, and you will sleep, safe and warm and held by the story, held by the mystery, held by the sound of the bells, the sound that has no explanation, the sound that simply is. You breathe, you drift, you let go. The bells ring, somewhere, somehow. The bells ring, and you are sleeping, and you are dreaming, and you are part of the story, forever part of the story of the bells that ring themselves at night, the story that continues, always, without end. The bells ring, and you sleep. And the night deepens, and the world turns, and the mystery remains, as it always has, as it always will. The bells ring, and you are listening, even now, even as you sleep, even as you dream. The bells ring, and the sound echoes, through the night, through your mind, through the story. The bells ring, and you are there, part of the sound, part of the mystery, part of the legend. The bells ring, and you sleep, deeply and peacefully, held by the story, held by the sound, held by the darkness. The bells ring, in the night, in the tower, in the town, in your dreams. The bells ring, and you are safe, and you are sleeping, and you are part of something larger than yourself, something beautiful and strange and impossible to explain. The bells ring, and the story continues, and you continue, moving through sleep and dreams and darkness. The bells ring, one clear, pure tone, hanging in the air, fading, gone, and you sleep, deeper, softer, quieter. The bells ring, and you are sleeping, and all is well, and all is peaceful, and all is as it should be. The bells ring, and the night holds you, and the story holds you, and sleep holds you, gently, softly, completely. The bells ring, in your memory, in your dreams, in the spaces between thoughts. The bells ring, and you are sleeping, truly sleeping, lost in the darkness, lost in the peace. The bells ring, faint now, distant, almost gone, but there, always there, waiting, in the back of your mind, in the depths of your dreams. The bells ring, and you sleep, and the world fades, and everything dissolves into the soft, gentle darkness of sleep. The bells ring, one last time, so faint you almost do not hear it, a whisper, a breath. A memory. The bells ring, and you sleep. The morning comes again. You wake again. You remember the bells again. The sound is there, lodged in your memory like a small, smooth stone. You go about your day. You do the things you need to do. The bells are not at the front of your mind. They are not dominating your thoughts, but they are there. A presence, a background hum, a quiet knowledge. You have heard the bells. You have stood in the square, at least in your imagination. You have felt the mystery, tasted it, let it settle into your bones, and now it is part of you. The story is part of you. The legend is part of you. You move through the world differently now. You are more aware of the mysteries around you, the things that cannot be explained, the sounds in the night, the unexplained phenomena, the legends and stories that people tell. You listen more carefully, you pay attention, you notice. And sometimes when the world is quiet, when you are alone with your thoughts, you think of the bells. You think of the tower. You think of the town. You wonder if it is real. You wonder if the bells are ringing right now at this very moment in some distant place you have never been. You wonder if someone is standing in the square listening. You wonder if someone is lying in bed, drifting towards sleep, hearing the sound for the first time. You wonder if the mystery will ever be solved, if someone will ever climb the tower and find the explanation, if the door will ever be unlocked. But deep down, you hope it will not. You hope the mystery will remain. You hope the bells will continue to ring, unexplained and inexplicable, for generations to come. Because the world needs its mysteries. The world needs things that cannot be understood. The world needs stories that have no ending. And the bells are one of those things, a small miracle, a small impossibility, a small reminder that the world is stranger and more beautiful than we can ever fully comprehend. The bells ring. They have always rung. They will always ring. And you, having heard them once, will carry their sound with you for the rest of your life. A gift, a burden, a blessing. The sound of the bells, the sound of mystery, the sound of the unknown. You smile. You go about your day. You live your life. And somewhere, in a town you have never been, the bells wait, silent for now, but not forever. They will ring again, and when they do, someone will hear, someone will listen, someone will wonder, and the story will continue. As it always has, as it always will, the bells ring, and the story continues, and you are part of it, forever. The days pass, the weeks pass, the months pass. Life continues in its steady, relentless way. You work, you rest, you eat and sleep and wake and move through the world. And sometimes, when you least expect it, you think of the bells. The thought comes unbidden, a flash of memory, a sudden image, the tower, the square, the sound. And in those moments you pause, you stop whatever you're doing, you close your eyes, you listen to the memory. The sound is still there, still clear, still pure. It has not faded. It has not been eroded by time. It remains as vivid as the night you first heard it. Whether that night was real or imagined, the bells ring, in your memory, in your mind, in the deepest part of yourself, and you are grateful. Grateful for the mystery, grateful for the story, grateful for the sound. It is a small thing, a small gift, but it is yours, and it will always be yours. The bells ring, and you listen, and you smile, and you continue. The world is full of mysteries, full of legends, full of sounds in the night, and you are part of that world, a listener, a witness, a dreamer. The bells ring, and you are listening, always listening, even when you do not know it, even when you're far away, lost in the ordinary details of life. The bells ring, and the sound echoes through time, through space, through the story. The bells ring, and you are part of the story, part of the mystery, part of the legend, forever. The bells ring, in the night, in the darkness, in the silence. They ring. They have always rung. They will always ring, and you are listening. And you are sleeping, and you are dreaming, and you are awake, and you are living. The bells ring, and the story continues, without end, without resolution, without explanation. The bells ring, and that is enough, more than enough. It is everything. The bells ring, and you are there. Part of the sound, part of the mystery, part of the eternal, endless, beautiful story. The bells ring in the tower, in the town, in your heart, in your mind, in your dreams. The bells ring, and you sleep, and you wake, and you live, and you listen. Always listening, always part of the story. The bells ring, and the world is strange and beautiful and full of mystery, and you are grateful. Grateful to be alive, grateful to be a listener, grateful to be part of the story. The bells ring, and you carry the sound with you. Today and tomorrow and all the days to come, the sound of the bells, the sound of mystery, the sound of the unknown, the sound that has no explanation, the sound that simply is. The bells ring, and you listen, and you sleep, and you dream, and you wake, and you live. The bells ring, and the story continues, always, forever, without end. The bells ring, and you are part of it, part of the eternal mystery, part of the legend that will never die. The bells ring, in the night, in your memory, in your heart. The bells ring, and you are listening, and you are sleeping, and you are safe, and you are held, and you are part of something larger and stranger and more beautiful than you can ever fully understand. The bells ring, and that is the story, that is the legend, that is the truth. The bells ring, and you sleep, deeply, peacefully, completely. The bells ring, and the night holds you, and the story holds you, and the mystery holds you. The bells ring, one last time, so soft, so distant, so faint. The bells ring, and you sleep, and all is well, and the story continues, forever, always, without end. The bells ring, in the darkness, in the silence, in the mystery. The bells ring, and you are sleeping, and you are dreaming, and you are part of the story, forever part of the story. The bells ring, and you sleep. The seasons turn, spring becomes summer, summer becomes autumn, autumn becomes winter, and winter becomes spring again. The cycle continues, as it always has, as it always will, and through all of this the tower stands, the bells hang, the mystery remains. You find yourself thinking of the bells more often now. They have become a part of your internal landscape. A reference point, a touchstone. When the world feels chaotic or confusing, you think of the bells. You think of their steady, unchanging presence. You think of the way they ring according to their own rhythm, their own unknowable schedule. There is comfort in that. Comfort in knowing that some things exist beyond explanation, beyond control, beyond understanding. The bells do not care if you understand them. They do not need your comprehension. They simply are. They exist. They ring when they ring. They are silent when they are silent. And there is a kind of peace in accepting that, in letting go of the need to know, in surrendering to the mystery. You lie in bed at night and you think of the bells. You imagine the tower dark against the sky. You imagine the bells hanging in their chamber, waiting. You imagine the moment when they will ring again. The sudden, inexplicable movement. The clear, pure tone cutting through the darkness. And you wonder who will hear it. Who will be standing in the square at that exact moment? Who will pause in their home listening? Who will lie in bed like you and hear the sound and wonder? You wonder if the bells ring for a reason, if they are trying to communicate something, if there is a message hidden in the irregular intervals, the unpredictable timing, or if they ring simply because they ring, because that is what they do, because that is their nature. You do not know, you will never know, and somehow that is okay. You breathe, slow and steady, in and out. Your body relaxes into the bed. Your mind drifts. You think of the first person who heard the bells ring themselves, whoever that was. Whenever that was, you imagine their surprise, their confusion, their wonder. You think of all the people who have heard the bells since then. Hundreds of people, thousands, each one adding their own interpretation, their own theory, their own story to the legend. And now you are one of them. You are part of that long chain, a link in the endless story. You close your eyes. The darkness behind your eyelids is soft and complete. You can feel yourself sinking deeper into sleep. The edges of consciousness are blurring. Your thoughts are becoming dreamlike, fragmented, strange. The bells, the tower, the town, the sound. It all blends together. It all becomes one thing, a feeling, a presence, a memory that is also a dream. You see yourself walking through the town. It is night. The streets are empty. The buildings are dark. There is no moon. No stars, only darkness. But you can see the tower. It glows faintly as if lit from within. The stones themselves seem to emit a pale, cold light. You walk toward it, drawn by something you cannot name. You reach the base of the tower. The door is there, but it is no longer locked. It swings open at your touch, smooth and silent. You step inside. The stairs spiral upward into darkness, but you're not afraid. You begin to climb, one step at a time, slow and steady. The stone is cool beneath your feet. The air smells of age and dust and something else. Something you cannot identify. Something old. Something eternal. You climb higher. The darkness is absolute. You cannot see your hand in front of your face, but you know where you're going. You do not need to see. At last you reach the bell chamber. You step through the opening. The chamber is larger than you expected. The ceiling is lost in shadow. The bells hang before you, massive and ancient, and they are ringing, all three of them, swinging slowly, impossibly in the stillness. There is no wind, there are no ropes, there are no hands guiding them. They swing on their own, driven by forces you cannot perceive. The sound is overwhelming. It fills the chamber, it fills your body, it vibrates in your bones, in your teeth, in your skull. It is the loudest sound you have ever heard, and yet somehow it is also gentle, soothing, hypnotic. You stand there, watching the bells swing, watching them ring. The sound washes over you, through you. You become part of the sound. You become the sound. Time stops, or perhaps time continues, but you're no longer aware of it. You are suspended, held. Embraced by the sound of the bells, and then gradually the ringing slows. The bells swing less and less. The sound grows softer, quieter, until at last the bells are still, silent, waiting. You stand in the chamber, in the silence that follows, and you understand. Not with your mind, but with something deeper, something beyond thought or language. You understand that the bells are not cursed, they are not haunted, they are not broken or malfunctioning, they are simply themselves. They are what they are. They ring when they need to ring. They are silent when they need to be silent. They exist in their own time, by their own rules, according to their own nature. And that is all there is to understand. That is the entire mystery. That is the whole truth. The bells are what they are, and that is enough. You open your eyes. You are in your bed. The dream is fading. The tower is gone. The bells are gone. The sound is gone. But the understanding remains. The peace remains. The acceptance remains. You breathe. You settle deeper into the bed. You close your eyes again. And this time, when sleep comes, it comes quickly and completely. No more thoughts, no more images, no more dreams, only darkness, only rest, only peace. You sleep, deeply, dreamlessly, completely. And somewhere, in a town you have never been, in a tower you will never climb, the bells hang in their chamber, silent, waiting, but not empty, never empty. They are full of history, full of mystery, full of all the people who have ever heard them, all the people who have ever wondered, all the people who have ever stood in the square looking up listening. The bells hold all of that. All of those moments, all of those people, all of that wonder, and you are part of it now. Your moment, your wonder, your listening. It is all there in the bells, held, preserved, made eternal. The bells ring, not now, not yet, but they will. They always do. And when they ring, someone will hear, someone will pause, someone will wonder, and the story will continue. as it always has, as it always will. The bells ring, and the story continues, and you sleep, and all is well. The morning light filters through the curtains, soft, golden, warm. You wake slowly, gradually, returning to consciousness in gentle stages. You lie there for a moment, not moving, just feeling. The bed beneath you, the pillow under your head, the warmth of the blankets, the quiet of the room. You remember the dream, the tower, the bells. The understanding that came in the darkness of the bell chamber. You remember the feeling, the peace, the acceptance, and you realize that the feeling is still there. It did not fade with the dream. It is part of you now, a new understanding, a new way of seeing the world. You get up, you go about your morning routine, but something has changed, something subtle but profound. You move through the world with a new awareness, a new appreciation for mystery, for the unknown, for the things that cannot be explained. You look at the ordinary world around you, and you see it differently. You see the mystery hiding in the everyday, the impossible made commonplace, the miraculous disguised as the mundane, the way water flows from a tap, the way light moves through space, the way your heart beats without you telling it to, the way thoughts arise in your mind from nowhere. It is all mysterious. It is all impossible. It is all miraculous. And you had never really noticed before. You had taken it all for granted. But now, having heard the bells, having stood in the presence of unexplained mystery, you see it. You feel it. You understand. The world is full of wonders, full of impossibilities, full of things that simply are without explanation, without reason, without need for understanding. And that is beautiful. That is perfect. That is enough. You go through your day with this new awareness. You work. You talk to people. You eat. You move through the hours. But everything is different now. Everything is tinged with wonder, with mystery, with the knowledge that beneath the surface of the ordinary world there is something else, something strange, something beautiful. The bells have given you this gift, this new way of seeing, this new way of being, and you are grateful, deeply grateful, for the story, for the mystery, for the sound that echoed in your dreams and changed something fundamental in the way you perceive reality. You find yourself smiling more, pausing more, noticing more. The world has not changed, but you have changed, and so the world appears different, richer, fuller, more alive. The day passes, evening comes, the sun sets, the sky darkens, the stars appear, and once again, it is time for bed. You brush your teeth, you change into your pajamas, you climb under the covers, you rest your head on the pillow. The room is dark and quiet. The world is still. You close your eyes, and as you drift towards sleep you think of the bells. But this time, the thought brings no questions, no wonder, no curiosity. This time, the thought brings only peace, only acceptance, only a deep, abiding sense of rightness. The bells are there. They will always be there. They will ring when they ring. They will be silent when they are silent. And that is perfect. That is exactly as it should be. You breathe, slow and deep. Your body relaxes. Your mind quiets. You drift. You float. You slip gently over the edge of consciousness into the soft darkness of sleep. And as you fall, you hear it. One last time. Faint and distant. Almost imagined. Almost remembered. Almost dreamed. The sound of a bell, ringing in the darkness, clear and pure and beautiful. The sound fades, the darkness deepens, and you sleep. Deeply, peacefully, completely. The bells ring, and you sleep, and all is well, and the story continues. Forever, always, without end, the bells ring, in the night, in your dreams, in your heart, in your memory. The bells ring, and you are sleeping, and you are safe, and you are held by the story, held by the mystery, held by the eternal, beautiful, impossible sound. The bells ring, and you sleep, and the world turns, and life continues, and the mystery remains. The bells ring, and that is the story, that is the legend, that is the truth. The bells ring, and you are part of it, forever part of it, forever listening, forever sleeping, forever dreaming. The bells ring, and you sleep, and all is well, and all is peaceful, and all is exactly as it should be. The bells ring, one last time, so soft, so faint, so perfect. The bells ring, and you sleep. The end is not an end. The story does not conclude. The mystery does not resolve. And that is exactly right. That is exactly how it should be. Because some things are not meant to be finished. Some things are meant to continue, to persist, to remain open and unresolved and alive. The bells are one of those things. The story is one of those things. The mystery is one of those things. And you, having heard the story, having listened to the bells, having stood in the presence of the mystery, you are changed, forever changed, in small ways, in quiet ways, in ways you may not even notice. But the change is there. The mark is there. The story is inside you now, woven into the fabric of who you are. And wherever you go, whatever you do, however your life unfolds, the bells will be there. A quiet presence, a soft echo, a gentle reminder. A reminder that the world is stranger than you know, that mystery exists. That some questions have no answers, that some sounds have no source, that some stories have no ending. And that is beautiful. That is perfect. That is enough. You will live your life. You will have your experiences. You will face your challenges and celebrate your joys. You will laugh and cry and love and lose and grow and change. And through it all, the bells will be there. Not always in your conscious awareness, not always at the front of your mind, but there, always there. A foundation, a touchstone, a quiet truth. The bells ring. They have always rung. They will always ring. And you have heard them. And that makes you part of something larger, something eternal, something that transcends individual lives and spans generations and connects the past to the present to the future. You are part of the story now. One listener among thousands, one witness among multitudes, one dreamer in the long chain of dreamers, and that is a gift, a precious gift, a gift you will carry with you always. The bells ring, and you are listening, even when you do not know you are listening. Even when you are busy and distracted and caught up in the details of daily life. Even then, somewhere deep inside, you are listening. You are remembering. You are connected. The bells ring, and the connection is real. The mystery is real. The story is real. Not real in the sense of facts and evidence and proof, but real in the sense that matters. Real in the sense of meaning and truth and the things that shape us at the deepest level. The bells are real because you have heard them. Because they have touched you, because they have changed you. And that is all the reality they need. That is all the truth they require. The bells ring, and you sleep, and you dream, and you wake, and you live, and the story continues. Your story, the story of the bells, the story of the mystery, the story that has no end. The bells ring, and you are part of it, forever, always, without question. Without doubt, the bells ring. In the tower, in the town, in the valley between the hills, in the place you have never been but know as well as your own home, the bells ring, and they will ring again, tonight, tomorrow, next week, next year. They will ring when the moment comes, when the conditions are right, when the universe tilts in just the perfect way, and someone will hear, someone will listen, someone will wonder, someone will be changed, and the story will continue, as it always has. As it always will, the bells ring, and the story is eternal, and you are eternal. Not your body, not your name, not the temporary fleeting things, but the part of you that heard the bells, the part of you that listened, the part of you that wondered. That part is eternal. That part will always be connected to the story. That part will always be part of the mystery. The bells ring, and you are part of something beautiful, something impossible, something true. The bells ring, and you sleep, deeply, peacefully, held by the story, held by the mystery, held by the sound. The bells ring, and all is well, and all is peaceful, and all is exactly as it should be. The bells ring. In the darkness, in the silence, in the space between breaths, the bells ring. And you are sleeping, and you are dreaming, and you are safe, always held, Always part of the story, the bells ring and the sound echoes through time, through space, through the infinite, eternal, beautiful mystery. The bells ring, and you sleep, and the world turns, and life continues. The bells ring. And that is the story, that is the truth, that is everything. The bells ring, one more time, so soft, so gentle, so perfect. The bells ring, and you sleep, and the story continues, forever. You're in the town again. But it is different this time. The town is in daylight. The sun is high and bright. The sky is clear and blue. Everything is sharp and defined. There are no shadows, no mist, no ambiguity. People move through the streets. You see them now. They were always there, but you see them clearly for the first time. A woman walking a dog, an old man sitting on a bench, children playing in the square. A baker sweeping the front of his shop, a postman delivering letters. The town is alive. It is real. It is ordinary. It is exactly like 1,000 other small towns scattered across the country. But the tower is still there, rising above the rooftops. The church is still there, dark stone, solid and permanent. The bells are still there, hidden in their chamber, silent but present. You walk through the town. People nod to you. Some smile. Some ignore you. You're just another person passing through. Nothing special, nothing remarkable. You reach the square. You stand where you have stood before in darkness and in mist. But now, in the bright daylight, everything looks different. Smaller, more mundane, less mysterious. The tower is just a tower. Old stone, weathered wood. Nothing supernatural, nothing impossible. Just a building. Just a structure built by human hands centuries ago and still standing through the simple fact of good construction and regular maintenance. You look up at the bell chamber, the open arches, the dark spaces beyond. You cannot see the bells, but you know they are there, bronze and massive and old, and you realize something. The bells are not magical, they are not cursed, they are not blessed, they are metal, they are objects, they are physical things existing in the physical world. But they ring, without explanation, without visible cause. They ring, and that is the mystery. Not the bells themselves, but the ringing. Not the object, but the phenomenon. Not the thing, but the event. You stand there in the square in the bright sunlight and you understand. The mystery is not in the supernatural. The mystery is in the gap between what we can observe and what we can explain. The mystery is in the space where our knowledge ends and the unknown begins. We can examine the bells. We can measure them. We can analyze the metal and the construction and the mechanisms. We can document everything about them. But we cannot explain the ringing. We cannot predict it. We cannot control it. We cannot make it fit into our understanding of how the world works. And that is the mystery. That is the legend. That is the story. A woman approaches you. She's middle-aged with grey hair and kind eyes. She's carrying a bag of groceries. "You're looking at the tower," she says. It is not a question. It is an observation. You nod. "I've heard the stories," you say. "About the bells." She smiles. "Everyone has heard the stories." "You're not from around here, are you?" "No," you say. "I'm just passing through." "Most people are," she says. "This isn't the kind of town where people stay. This is the kind of town where people pass through, hear the stories, maybe hear the bells, and then move on." "Have you heard the bells?" you ask. "Of course," she says. "I've lived here my whole life. I've heard them hundreds of times." "And do you know why they ring?" She laughs. It is a soft, gentle laugh. Nobody knows why they ring. That's the whole point. If we knew, it wouldn't be a mystery anymore. It would just be another fact, another piece of trivia, another thing to write in a guidebook. "But doesn't it bother you?" you ask, "not knowing?" She considers this. "It used to," she says. "When I was younger, I used to lie awake at night thinking about the bells. Trying to figure it out, trying to solve the puzzle. And now? Now I think the mystery is the gift," she says. "The not knowing, the wonder, the fact that there is something in our little town that cannot be explained away, something that resists every attempt to make it ordinary." She shifts the bag of groceries to her other arm. "The world is so explained these days," she continues. "Everything has an answer. Everything has a cause. Everything fits into a category. But the bells don't fit. They refuse to fit. And I find that comforting in a strange way." You nod slowly. You understand what she means. "Have you heard them yet?" she asks. "Since you've been here?" "I have," you say. "Last night." She smiles. "Then you're lucky." Some people come to this town hoping to hear the bells, and they never do. The bells don't ring on demand. The bells don't perform for tourists. I didn't come here as a tourist, you say. No, she says, studying your face. I don't suppose you did. You came here for a different reason, or maybe no reason at all. Maybe you just found yourself here. You think about this. She's right. You're not sure how you ended up in this town. You were walking, you were thinking, and somehow you ended up here. The bells have a way of calling people, she says. Not with sound, not with anything you can hear or see, but they call anyway, and some people answer. They come here, not knowing why. They stand in the square, they listen, and then they leave, changed in small ways they can't quite explain. She adjusts her bag again. I should go. These groceries aren't getting any lighter, but enjoy the town, walk around, look at the hills. Visit the library, eat at the diner, and if you hear the bells again, just listen. Don't try to understand, just listen. She walks away, disappearing down one of the side streets. You stand there alone in the square, thinking about her words. Don't try to understand, just listen. It sounds simple, but it is one of the hardest things in the world, to resist the urge to explain, to categorize, to make sense of, to simply experience something without trying to control it or understand it, or fit it into your existing framework of knowledge. Just listen. You take a deep breath. You close your eyes. You stand there in the square, in the bright sunlight, and you listen. You hear the wind in the trees. You hear birds singing. You hear the distant sound of a car driving past. You hear children laughing somewhere nearby. You hear the ordinary sounds of a small town on an ordinary day. And underneath all of that, beneath all the surface noise, you hear something else. Not with your ears, not with your physical senses, but you hear it nonetheless. A presence, a possibility, a potential. The bells, waiting. Silent now, but not absent. Never absent. You open your eyes. You look up at the tower one more time, and then you turn and walk away. You walk through the town. You follow the main street to the edge of town. You pass the last house, the last fence, the last sign of human habitation. And then you are on the road again. The road that winds between the hills. The road that leads away from the town and toward somewhere, anywhere, nowhere. You walk, and as you walk you think about the bells, about the mystery. About the woman with the groceries and her wisdom about not trying to understand. You think about all the people who have stood in that square over the years, all the people who have heard the bells, all the people who have wondered, and you think about yourself, about why you came to this town, about what you were looking for, if anything, and you realize that you were not looking for answers. You were looking for questions. You were looking for mystery. You were looking for something that would remind you that the world is larger and stranger and more wonderful than you usually allow yourself to believe. And you found it. The bells gave it to you. The story gave it to you. The mystery gave it to you. And now you carry it with you, not as a burden, not as an obligation, but as a gift, a treasure, a secret knowledge that will colour everything you see and do and experience for the rest of your life. The world is full of mysteries. You know that now. You feel it in your bones, and you will never forget it. You walk. The road stretches ahead of you. The hills rise on either side, the sky's wide and blue above you, and behind you, growing smaller with each step, the town sits in its valley. The tower rises from its centre. The bells hang in their chamber, silent now, but not forever, never forever. They will ring again, and when they do, someone will hear. Someone will listen, someone will wonder, and the story will continue, as it always has, as it always will. You walk, and you smile, and you carry the story with you, always. The bells ring, and you are listening, even now, even here, even miles away from the town. The bells ring, and you will always be listening, for the rest of your life, in every quiet moment, in every pause, in every space between thoughts. The bells ring, and you are part of the story, forever. The road continues, you continue, the world continues, and the mystery continues, always, forever, without end. The bells ring, and the story is eternal, and you are eternal, and everything is exactly as it should be. The bells ring, and you walk, and the sun shines, and the world is beautiful and strange and full of wonder. The bells ring, and that is enough. More than enough. It is everything. The bells ring, in the town, in your memory, in your heart, in the deepest part of yourself. The bells ring, and you carry the sound with you. Always. Forever. Wherever you go, whatever you do, however your life unfolds, the bells ring, and you are changed. And the change is permanent, and the change is beautiful. The bells ring, and you walk into your future, into the unknown, into the mystery that is your own life. The bells ring, and you are not afraid. You are curious, you are open, you are ready. The bells ring, and the world opens before you, full of possibilities, full of wonder, full of stories yet to be told. The bells ring, and you walk, one step at a time, slow and steady, into the light, into the future, into the endless, beautiful, mysterious journey of being alive. The bells ring, and you are living, truly living, awake to the mystery, awake to the wonder, awake to the infinite possibilities. The bells ring. And that is the end of the beginning, or the beginning of the end, or perhaps there is no end at all. Perhaps the story simply continues, spiraling outward, touching more lives, creating more connections, weaving more threads in the infinite tapestry of mystery and wonder. The bells ring, and you are part of that tapestry. One thread among millions, one colour in the infinite pattern. The bells ring, and you walk, and you live, and you listen. Always listening, always wondering, always open to the mystery. The bells ring, and the sun sets behind the hills, the sky darkens, the stars come out. Another day ends, another night begins, the bells ring, and somewhere, in a town you have left behind, people are settling into their homes, turning on lights, cooking dinner, talking with family, going about the ordinary business of living. The bells ring, and perhaps tonight the bells will ring, or perhaps they will be silent. There is no way to know, there is never any way to know. The bells ring. And that is the beauty of it, the unpredictability, the impossibility, the pure, perfect mystery of it all. The bells ring, and you find a place to rest for the night, a small inn at the side of the road, a room with a bed and a window and nothing more. You lie down, you pull the blanket over yourself, you close your eyes, and as you drift towards sleep, you think of the bells one more time. You think of the tower, you think of the town, you think of the woman with the groceries and her simple wisdom. Just listen. And you do. You listen. To the silence of the room, to the sounds of the night outside, to the beating of your own heart. You listen. And in the listening you find peace, you find acceptance, you find a deep, abiding sense of rightness. The bells ring. Somewhere. Somehow. Or perhaps they are silent. It does not matter. What matters is that you are listening. What matters is that you are open. What matters is that you have allowed the mystery into your life, into your heart, into your very being. The bells ring, and you sleep deeply, peacefully, completely. And as you sleep, you dream. But your dreams are different now. They are not the anxious, chaotic dreams of before. They are calm. They are gentle. They are full of mystery and wonder and beauty. You dream of towers and valleys and hills covered in trees. You dream of bells ringing in the darkness. You dream of people standing in squares listening. You dream of roads winding through unknown landscapes. You dream of mysteries everywhere in everything, waiting to be discovered, waiting to be experienced, waiting to be honoured. You dream, and in your dreams the bells ring. Clear and pure and beautiful the bells ring, and you sleep, and you dream, and you are held by the story, held by the mystery, held by the infinite, eternal, beautiful web of wonder that is existence itself. The bells ring, and you are safe, and you are loved, and you are exactly where you need to be. The bells ring, and the night deepens, and the stars wheel overhead, and the world turns on its axis, and life continues, and the mystery remains. The bells ring, and that is the story, that is the legend, that is the truth that lies at the heart of everything. The bells ring, and you sleep, and all is well, and all is peaceful, and all is exactly as it should be. The bells ring. One more time, so soft, so distant, so perfect. The bells ring, and you sleep, forever held by the story, forever part of the mystery, forever listening. Even in your dreams, the bells ring, and the story continues, always. The morning comes slowly, the light creeps through the window of the inn, gradual and gentle. You wake in stages, floating up from deep sleep through layers of consciousness until you finally open your eyes. The room is simple, plain walls, a wooden floor, a small table, a chair, the bed you're lying in, nothing more. But it is clean and quiet and peaceful. You lie there for a while, not moving, just breathing, just being. The events of yesterday feel distant now. The town, the tower, the bells. They seem almost like a dream themselves, but you know they were real. You know you were there. You know you heard the bells. The memory is clear and vivid. It has not faded. You get up. You dress. You gather your few belongings. You make your way downstairs. The innkeeper is an elderly woman with white hair pulled back in a bun. She's sitting behind a desk reading a newspaper. She looks up when you descend the stairs. "Good morning," she says. Her voice is warm and pleasant. "Did you sleep well?" "Very well," you say. "Thank you." "Where are you headed?" she asks. You pause. You realize you do not have an answer. You have no destination in mind. No plan. No schedule. You're simply travelling, moving, existing. "I'm not sure," you say honestly. She nods as if this is a perfectly reasonable answer. "Sometimes the best journeys are the ones without a destination," she says. You find things you would never have found if you were only looking for one particular place. "Have you travelled much?" you ask. "Oh no," she says. "I've lived in this area my whole life. But I've talked to many travellers, people passing through, and I've learned that the ones who seem happiest are not the ones rushing to get somewhere. They are the ones who are enjoying the journey itself." You thank her for the room. You pay. You step out into the morning air. The world is fresh and new. Dew covers the grass at the side of the road. Birds are singing in the trees. The sun is still low in the sky, casting long shadows. You begin walking. You do not know where the road leads. You do not particularly care. You're content to simply walk and see where you end up. As you walk, you think about what the innkeeper said, about journeys without destinations, about finding things you were not looking for. The bells were like that. You were not looking for them. You did not even know they existed, but you found them anyway. Or perhaps they found you, and now they are part of you, part of your story, part of the way you understand the world. You walk for hours. The road winds through countryside, fields and forests, small farms, occasional houses set back from the road. You pass through tiny villages, just a handful of buildings clustered around a crossroads. You stop for lunch at a small cafe in one of these villages. You order soup and bread. You sit at a table by the window and watch people pass by outside. An old man, a young couple holding hands, a child on a bicycle, ordinary people living ordinary lives. But you see them differently now. You see the mystery in them, the unknowable depth, the stories they carry, the experiences they have had, the memories they hold. Each person is a universe unto themselves. Each person contains multitudes. Each person is as complex and mysterious as the bells in the tower. You finish your meal, you pay, you continue walking. The afternoon passes slowly. The sun moves across the sky. The shadows lengthen. The air grows cooler. You find yourself thinking about time, about how it moves, how it passes, how it shapes us, how we are different people at different times, and yet somehow still ourselves, still continuous, still connected to who we were and who we will be. Time is a mystery, as much a mystery as the bells. We experience it, we live through it, but we do not truly understand it. We cannot hold it, we cannot control it. We can only move through it, one moment at a time, never knowing what the next moment will bring. Evening comes, the sky turns orange and pink, the sun sinks toward the horizon. You begin looking for a place to spend the night. You find another small inn, different from the first but similar in its simplicity. A room, a bed, a window, nothing more, nothing less. You eat dinner in a small dining room. There are a few other guests, a travelling salesman, a young woman with a backpack who looks like she's hiking, an older couple who speak quietly to each other in a language you do not recognise. You do not speak to any of them. You eat in silence, and then you return to your room. You lie in bed. The room is dark. Through the window, you can see stars beginning to appear in the deepening blue of the sky. You think of the bells. You wonder if they are ringing tonight. You wonder if someone in the town is standing in the square listening. You wonder if someone is lying in bed just like you, hearing the distant sound and wondering what it means. The bells are always there, even when they are silent, even when you are far away. They are there, a presence, a possibility, a reminder. You close your eyes, you breathe slowly, you let yourself relax into the bed, and as you drift towards sleep, you imagine the bells. You imagine them hanging in their chamber. You imagine the bronze surfaces, the worn letters, the weight and solidity of them. You imagine them beginning to move, slowly at first, just a slight swing, and then more, back and forth, building momentum, until finally the clapper strikes the side of the bell, and the sound emerges, clear and pure, cutting through the darkness, travelling across the valley, over the hills, through the trees, reaching ears miles away, reaching your ears, even though you're not there. Even though you're far away, even though it is impossible, you hear it, in your imagination, in your memory, in your heart. The bell rings, and you smile, and you sleep. The next day is much like the one before. You wake, you eat, you walk. The road continues. The landscape changes slowly. You pass through different terrain, different villages, different views. But underneath it all, there is a continuity, a thread running through each day. The thread of the journey itself, the thread of your experience, the thread of the mystery that you carry with you. You meet people along the way, not many, but a few. You exchange greetings. Sometimes you stop and talk for a few minutes, about the weather, about the road ahead, about nothing in particular. Each person you meet is part of the tapestry. Each person is a thread. Each person is connected to you and to everyone else in ways that are invisible but real. You begin to see the world as a vast web of connections, each person connected to other people, each place connected to other places, each moment connected to other moments, past and present and future all woven together in an intricate pattern that is far too complex to ever fully understand. And the bells are part of that web, one small part, one small mystery among countless mysteries, but a part nonetheless, a thread in the tapestry. You walk, days pass, one after another, you lose track of time, it does not matter. You're not in a hurry, you have nowhere to be, you are simply here, now, walking, experiencing, being alive. Some days are easy, the weather is good, the road is smooth, you feel strong and energetic. You walk for many miles and never feel tired. Other days are harder, it rains, your feet hurt, you feel exhausted. You wonder why you're doing this, why you are walking, what the point is, but you continue. You always continue. Because that is what you do. You walk, you move forward, one step at a time, and on the hardest days you think of the bells, you think of the mystery, you think of the way they ring without explanation, without reason, simply because that is their nature. And you realize that you are the same. You're walking without explanation, without reason, simply because that is your nature. You're following your own unknowable rhythm, your own mysterious pattern. You are like the bells, ringing when you need to ring, silent when you need to be silent, moving through the world according to rules you do not fully understand, and that is okay, that is perfect, that is exactly how it should be. Weeks pass, or perhaps it is only days, or perhaps it is months. You're not sure anymore. Time has become fluid, flexible, unimportant. You are somewhere in the countryside, you do not know exactly where. You have stopped looking at maps, you have stopped asking for directions. You simply walk wherever the road leads you. One afternoon you come to a river. It is wide and slow-moving. The water is brown and opaque. You cannot see the bottom. On the far bank there are trees, willows, their branches hanging down to touch the water. There is a bridge, an old stone bridge with 3 arches. Moss grows on the stones. The mortar is crumbling in places, but the bridge looks solid, permanent, as if it has been here for centuries and will be here for centuries more. You walk onto the bridge, you stop in the middle, you lean on the stone railing and look down at the water. The water moves slowly, almost imperceptibly, but it moves, always moving, always flowing, always going somewhere, even if you cannot see where. You watch the water for a long time. You watch the patterns on the surface, the ripples and eddies, the way the light reflects off the moving surface. It is hypnotic, soothing. You could stand here for hours just watching. A leaf floats by, brown and curled, dead, but moving, carried by the current, going wherever the water takes it. You think about that, about going wherever the current takes you, about surrendering to forces larger than yourself, about trusting the flow. That is what you have been doing. These past days or weeks or months, you have been flowing, letting yourself be carried, not fighting, not struggling, just moving with the current of your own life, and it has been peaceful, more peaceful than you have felt in a long time, perhaps more peaceful than you have ever felt. You straighten up. You continue across the bridge. On the other side, the road continues. It winds into the trees. You follow it. The trees close in around you. They are tall and old. Their branches form a canopy overhead. The light that filters through is green and soft. The air is cool and smells of earth and leaves. You walk slowly. There is no reason to hurry. You have all the time in the world. You think about the bells again. You've been thinking about them a lot. They keep returning to your mind. Not intrusively, not demandingly, just gently. A soft presence, a quiet reminder. You wonder if you will ever go back to the town, if you will ever stand in the square again, if you will ever hear the bells ring in person, rather than just in your memory and imagination. You do not know. You cannot know. The future is as mysterious as the bells themselves. But you think you might, someday, when the time is right, when the current of your life carries you back in that direction. You think you might return, and when you do, you will stand in the square, you will look up at the tower, you will listen, and perhaps the bells will ring, or perhaps they will be silent. It does not matter. You will be there, you will be listening, you will be honouring the mystery. The road emerges from the trees. You find yourself in open country again, rolling hills, fields of grass, a few scattered farms. In the distance you see another town, smaller than the town with the bells. Just a few houses, a church with a modest steeple, no tower, no bells. You walk toward it. As you get closer, you see people moving about. A man working in a garden, a woman hanging laundry on a line, children playing in a yard. Normal life, ordinary life, the kind of life that happens in small towns everywhere. The kind of life that is both mundane and miraculous. You pass through the town without stopping. You nod to the people you pass. They nod back. No one asks where you're going. No one asks where you've been. In a world of travellers, no one questions the journey. On the far side of town you see a sign, hand-painted, weathered. It points down a side road. The sign says, "Scenic Overlook, 1 mile." You have time. You have nothing but time. You turn down the side road. The road is narrow, barely wide enough for a single car. It climbs upward, winding back and forth up the side of a hill. You walk. The climb is steep. You feel it in your legs, in your lungs. But you do not mind. The exertion feels good. It reminds you that you are alive, that you have a body, that you are physical and real. At the top of the hill, the road ends at a small clearing. There are a few benches, a railing, and a view. The view is spectacular. You can see for miles. The countryside spreads out below you. Fields and forests, rivers and roads, towns and villages. All of it laid out like a map, like a tapestry, like a painting. You stand at the railing and look out. The sun is beginning to set. The light is golden. Everything glows. And you think about perspective. About how different things look from different vantage points. How the same landscape can be experienced in so many different ways depending on where you're standing. From down below, the world seems large and complex, full of detail, full of individual things, trees and houses and people and roads. But from up here, the details blur. The world becomes simpler, patterns emerge, connections become visible. You can see how everything fits together, how it all relates, how it all makes sense as a whole, even if the individual parts remain mysterious. The bells are like that. Up close, they are bronze and metal and physical reality. They are objects that can be measured and analysed. But from a distance, they are something else. They are mystery. They are symbol. They are the intersection of the known and the unknown. The place where explanation ends and wonder begins. You sit on one of the benches. You watch the sun sink lower. The sky turns orange, then red, then purple. The first stars appear. You think about all the people down below, in the towns and villages, in the farms and houses, each one living their life, each one carrying their own stories, their own mysteries, their own bells. Everyone has bells. Everyone has something in their life that rings without explanation. Something that defies understanding. Something that simply is without reason or cause. For you, it is the literal bells in the tower. But for others, it might be something else. A feeling, a memory, a moment, a connection, a loss, a love. Everyone has their mysteries. Everyone has their unexplained ringings in the night, and perhaps that is what makes us human. That is what connects us. Not our knowledge, but our wonder. Not our understanding, but our willingness to accept that some things cannot be understood. The night deepens. The stars multiply. The world below disappears into darkness. Only the faint lights of houses and street lamps remain visible. Small points of light in the vast darkness. You stand up. You make your way back down the hill. The road is dark, but you can see well enough. Your eyes have adjusted, and there is starlight, faint but sufficient. You reach the bottom of the hill. You continue walking, away from the town, into the countryside, into the night. You walk for another hour before you find a place to stop. There is a barn at the side of the road, old and weathered, probably not used anymore. The door is open. You step inside. It smells of hay and dust. There is old straw on the floor, wooden beams overhead. It is dry and relatively warm. It will do for the night. You make a bed of straw in one corner. You lie down. You pull your jacket over yourself like a blanket. Through the open door you can see the stars. So many stars. More than you have ever seen before. Away from the lights of cities, the sky is full of them. You lie there, looking up at the stars, and you think about distance, about how far away those stars are, how the light you are seeing left them years ago, decades ago, centuries ago. Some of those stars might not even exist anymore. They might have died long ago, but their light is still travelling through space, still reaching Earth, still visible to your eyes, the past and the present existing simultaneously, the dead and the living occupying the same moment. Time is strange. Time is mysterious. Time is another bell that rings in the night. You close your eyes. You breathe slowly. The straw is surprisingly comfortable. The barn is quiet. You feel safe. You feel at peace. And as you drift towards sleep, you think of the bells one more time. You imagine them hanging in their tower. You imagine the town sleeping around them. You imagine the people in their beds dreaming their dreams. And you imagine the bells beginning to ring, one tone, clear and pure, cutting through the night, reaching across miles and years and the vast spaces between people. The bells ring, and somewhere, someone hears, and somewhere, someone wonders, and somewhere, someone is changed. The bells ring, and you are part of it, part of the network of listeners, part of the web of wonder. Part of the great mystery that is existence itself. The bells ring, and you sleep. In a barn in the countryside, under a sky full of stars, in a world full of mysteries, the bells ring, and you are safe, and you are exactly where you need to be, and everything is exactly as it should be. The bells ring, and you sleep, deeply, peacefully, completely. The bells ring. And the story continues, as it always has, as it always will. Morning light wakes you. It streams through the gaps in the barn walls, thin beams of sunlight cutting through the dusty air. You sit up. You brush straw from your clothes. You stretch. Your body is stiff from sleeping on the ground, but you feel rested. You feel good. You step out of the barn. The morning is cool and fresh. The sun is just above the horizon. Everything is bathed in golden light. You continue walking. The road stretches ahead. You do not know where it leads. You do not need to know. You simply walk. The days continue to pass, each one different, each one the same. You walk, you see new places, you meet new people, You have small experiences and small revelations. You learn things, not facts or information, but truths. Deep truths about yourself and the world. You learn that you are stronger than you thought, that you can walk farther than you believed possible, that your body is capable of more than you gave it credit for. You learn that you need less than you thought, that you can be happy with very little, that most of what you thought was necessary was actually just habit and comfort and fear of going without. You learn that people are generally kind, that most people, when you meet them without judgment or expectation, are willing to help, willing to share, willing to connect, even briefly, even with a stranger. You learn that the world is beautiful, not just in the obvious ways, not just in sunsets and mountains and dramatic vistas, but in small ways, in the way morning light falls on grass, in the way wind moves through trees, in the way water reflects sky, in the way shadows stretch and shorten as the day progresses. You learn that you are part of something larger, that you are not separate from the world but woven into it, connected to it, made of the same substance as everything else. You learn that mystery is everywhere, not just in the bells, not just in the unexplained, but in everything, in the fact that anything exists at all, in the fact that you exist, in the fact that you are conscious and aware and capable of experiencing and thinking and feeling. Existence itself is the mystery. Life itself is the bell that rings in the night. You walk, and as you walk you change, not in dramatic ways, not in ways that anyone else would notice, but in subtle ways, deep ways, fundamental ways. You become more patient, more accepting, more open, more present. You stop worrying about the future. You stop regretting the past. You simply exist in the now, in this step, this breath, this moment. You become quieter inside. The constant chatter of your mind slows. Gaps appear between thoughts, spaces of pure being, moments of awareness without thought, without judgment, without commentary. In those moments you are like the bells. You simply are. You exist. You resonate with the world around you. Those moments are brief at first, just flickers, but they become more frequent, more sustained. You learn to rest in them, to abide in them, and in those moments you understand something profound, something that cannot be put into words, something that can only be experienced. You understand that you're not separate from anything, that the boundary between self and world is an illusion, that you are the world experiencing itself. You're the universe aware of itself. You're the mystery contemplating the mystery. You walk. The road continues. The landscape changes. You move through it all like a ghost, like a shadow, like a whisper. You're becoming transparent, becoming empty, becoming nothing. And in that nothingness you find everything. One day you come to a crossroads. 4 roads meet. You have to choose which way to go. You stand at the intersection. You look down each road. They all look the same. They all disappear into the distance. They all could lead anywhere. How do you choose? What criteria do you use? How do you decide? And then you realize that it does not matter, that any road is as good as any other road, that the destination is not important, that the journey is all there is. You close your eyes. You turn around slowly. You stop. You open your eyes. You walk down the road you're now facing. You do not know why you chose this road. You did not really choose it. You simply took it. You let chance decide. You surrendered to randomness, to the mysterious forces that guide us in ways we cannot see or understand. The road leads through a forest, dense and dark. The trees are close together. The canopy is thick. Very little light reaches the ground. You walk through the dimness. The air is cool and damp. You can hear water somewhere nearby, a stream or a creek, the gentle sound of flowing water. You follow the sound. You leave the road. You push through undergrowth. You climb over fallen logs. You make your way through the forest toward the water. You find a stream, clear and cold. It flows over rocks and around bends. You kneel beside it. You cup your hands. You drink. The water is delicious, clean and pure and cold. You sit on a rock beside the stream. You watch the water flow. You listen to its sound. It is like music, like a voice, like the stream is singing. And you realize that this is another bell. The stream is ringing. The water is ringing. Everything that moves and flows and changes is ringing. Everything that exists is ringing its own note, its own tone, its own song. The bells in the tower are just one bell among infinite bells, one note in an endless symphony, one voice in a chorus that includes everything that exists. Trees are ringing, rocks are ringing, wind is ringing, birds are ringing, your own body is ringing, your breath, your heartbeat, your thoughts, all of it is ringing. The world is not silent. The world is full of sound, full of music, full of bells ringing in every moment. We just do not always hear it. We just do not always listen. But you are listening now. You have learned to listen. The bells in the tower taught you. They opened your ears. They tuned your awareness. They made you sensitive to the ringing that is everywhere. Always, in everything. You sit by the stream for a long time. Hours. The sun moves across the sky. The light changes. The shadows shift. But you do not move. You just sit and listen and ring. Because you are ringing too. You are part of the symphony. You are one of the bells. You're sounding your note in the great chorus of existence, and your note is unique. No one else has ever sounded this exact note. No one else ever will. Your ringing is yours alone. Your contribution to the music is irreplaceable. This is what it means to be alive, to be yourself, to exist, to ring your own unique note in the infinite symphony. Eventually you stand up. You make your way back to the road. You continue walking. But something has shifted. You feel different, lighter, more transparent, more connected to everything around you. You are not separate from the forest. You are not separate from the stream. You are not separate from the road or the sky or the earth. You are all of it, and it is all you. The boundaries have dissolved. The illusion of separation has been seen through. What remains is unity, oneness, the seamless wholeness of existence. You walk. But it is not really you walking. It is the universe walking. It is life moving. It is consciousness experiencing itself. You are a verb, not a noun. You are a process, not a thing. You are happening, not being. You are the dance, not the dancer. The days blend together. You lose all sense of time. You lose all sense of self. You become the walking. You become the breathing. You become the seeing and hearing and feeling. You are empty. And in that emptiness, you are completely full. You contain everything. You are everything. You walk through towns and villages. You see people. But you do not see them as separate from yourself. You see them as yourself. You see the same consciousness looking out through different eyes. The same life expressing itself through different forms. You are everyone you meet. You are everything you see. There is no other. There is only this, only now. Only the endless, infinite, mysterious ringing of existence itself. One evening, you find yourself on a hilltop. The sun is setting. The skies ablaze with colour, orange and red and pink and purple. The clouds are on fire. You sit on the grass. You watch the sunset, and you feel overwhelming gratitude for this moment, for this life, for this existence, for the mystery of it all. You do not know why you exist. You do not know why anything exists. You do not know why there is something rather than nothing. You do not know the answer to any of the big questions, but you do not need to know. The not knowing is perfect. The mystery is perfect. The questions without answers are perfect. This is what the bells taught you. This is their gift. This is their message. Do not try to understand. Just listen. Just be. Just ring. The sun sinks below the horizon. The sky darkens. The stars come out. You lie back in the grass. You look up at the infinite expanse of stars, and you feel yourself dissolving, expanding, merging with everything, becoming one with the universe, becoming the universe. There is no you anymore. There is only this moment, this awareness, this being, this existence. The bells ring, somewhere, everywhere, always. The bells ring, and you are the ringing. You are the sound. You are the vibration that moves through everything. You are the note that the universe is playing. The bells ring, and you understand, not with your mind, not with thought, but with your whole being. You understand the mystery. You understand that the mystery cannot be understood. You understand that understanding is not necessary, that acceptance is enough, that presence is enough, that being is enough. The bells ring, and you are at peace. Complete peace, total peace, the peace that surpasses understanding. The bells ring, and you sleep, under the stars, on the hilltop, in the grass, in the world, in the universe, in the mystery. The bells ring, and you dream. But your dreams are not separate from waking. There is no boundary, no distinction, just consciousness, just awareness, just being. The bells ring, and you are held by the earth, by the night, by existence itself. You are cradled in the arms of the mystery. The bells ring, and everything is exactly as it should be. Perfect, complete, whole. The bells ring, and you are home. You have always been home. You could never be anywhere else. Home is not a place. Home is here, now, always. The bells ring, and the story continues. Your story. The story of the bells. The story of existence. They are all the same story. They have always been the same story. The bells ring, and you sleep, and you wake, and you walk, and you live, and you die, and you are born again, over and over, endlessly, eternally. The bells ring, and the cycle continues. The wheel turns, the dance goes on, the music plays, the symphony never ends. The bells ring, in the tower, in your heart, in the stars, in the grass, in the wind, in the water, in everything, always, forever. The bells ring, and that is all, and that is everything, and that is enough. The bells ring, and you are listening, always listening, forever listening. The bells ring, and the story continues, without end.